welcome to the Biz and Tech Podcast. Here at Aegis Business Technologies, we do IT support for everyone in North Florida. But when it comes to the podcast, we like to take it a little bit further than technology. We like to talk to our friends in the community, to our partners. And here today we have Andrea Jones with RedEye Coffee, Director of Special Projects. Welcome.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be. It's always wonderful to be with you.
Well, thank you for that.
You're just an amusing fellow.
Well, speaking of amusement,
do you have a joke for us?
That's a wonderful, wonderful intro. Okay, what do you call it when you have your grandmother on speed dial?
I don't know.
Instagram. That's right, ladies and gentlemen.
I get it now.
Okay. It takes a minute. It's a good one.
I'm slow, but I always get there.
I thought that was much superior to what does the spider do on the computer? Builds a website. They're both pretty strong. But
you have a good career.
Maybe.
It's something
maybe
else.
We're going to stick to IT and podcasting for today. Well, Andrea's with RedEye. We had a chance to collaborate recently at a Leadership Tallahassee event, a luncheon that Barbie and I were participating in. We'll talk about that in a second. But first, let's go back. So about 10 years ago, I was participating in Leadership Tallahassee, class 27.
Yeah, and you still are the official best class, by the way.
The official Crank It to 11 best class ever.
What? Yes.
Exactly. And we got a chance to meet. And one of my favorite things about that program is to getting to engage with our classmates with things like this. All these years later, we just had our reunion at Kristen Dozier's house.
Mm-hmm. That was wonderful.
And, we got to hang out and spend some time together. And LT is really special. One of the coolest things about LT is what happens after the fact. Like I'm talking about the podcast, but I got the funniest phone call from Kristen Dozier, Cindy Phipps, and you, all on speakerphone, telling me, this is what, about 4 years ago?
Yeah.
Telling me it's time to get involved with literacy volunteers of Leon County. And you can't say no.
We went zzz, and we caught you.
It was awesome.
It was fun.
And we got to do a play, a reading play, if you will, all for a great cause, helping those that are looking to learn to read, figure that out, and have some great time with some great people. Got to drink some Fireball with the chief of police, which that's fun. You don't get to do that every day.
No, not at all. And on our side, we had sparkling wine because we don't do Fireballs on that side.
Yeah, Fireball's a little intense.
It's a bit intense. Yeah. But we had a great time, and readers are leaders. So whatever we do in that area, are you in it this year?
I had to take a leave of absence. My agent suggested, I take a year off to build some excitement for next year, maybe.
I did that last year. It was good to get away just for a moment, but it's fun to be back.
Well, let's talk about RedEye.
Yay!
When I got to Midtown 14 years ago, we're here at 1310 Thomasville Road. There was a gas station over here, a gas station over here. You had Waterworks, you had Chez Pierre, but that's really about it. If you look at Fifth and Thomas and Finnegan's and RedEye and Taco Republic and all these great organizations coming up, it's really turned Midtown Tallahassee into a destination neighborhood in our community. And tell me a little bit about RedEye, because we have meetings there all the time. It's just that go-to spot. Love it.
Well, RedEye is a special place, especially for me, because what it does is it's trying to work at a business model that we hope other businesses will prescribe to, which is paying workers for what they're worth, particularly the farmers. We won't pay less than $4 a pound raw, because under that amount, the farmer doesn't get paid what it costs to produce and go forward. So usually if you're paying less than $4 a pound for specialty coffee, raw, that is,
right,
that means chances are their kids are working for free. That's where they make the difference up. If kids work for free, they don't go to school. They don't go to school, then you deal with everything from trafficking, if I can dare say slave labor, all that kind of stuff comes up. So that's my draw to this business model. And if we can make this work, then things like T-shirts that are $2 and $3, that it's worth more than that. If we pay what things are worth, then a lot of our problems in this society, in this world, will subside some.
Awesome.
Not entirely.
Awesome.
Yeah.
How many locations currently?
We have 3 locations. One at the hospital at not TMH, regional.
Okay.
Midtown, right here, as you mentioned, and then our other one is at Capitol Circle, northeast, across from the Armory.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Now, if we could, going back a little bit to our LT days, when we first met, you were with the fire department.
Yes.
You weren't just with the fire department; you were in the upper ranks.
I was division chief of operations.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell me about that experience. How long were you doing that sort of work, and what led you to it?
That position or the job? Well, the job was actually, I was looking for a job. anything.
We've all been there.
Honestly, I mean, it wasn't like a vision of mine or anything. I was signing up for anything because I needed a job, and my idea was that I was going to work for a few years and then go back to school, because I had dropped out of school, which my parents were like really upset with me, and I was like, "This is my way, my time," you know.
It's funny.
And I was like, "I messed up."
It's funny how those plans go. My plan at Aegis was to work here 3 years.
Yeah.
14 years later.
Yeah. Well, that's how things happen sometimes. But anyhow, I took the job and immediately fell in love with it and realized it was much more than what people think. I mean, if you want science, if you want medical, if you want action, I mean, there's so many components that if you want technical positions, it'll speak to you. Even law, there's aspects of law in that as well. And so me being that person that kind of attracted to everything, I found interest whatever field I went into within the fire service. So back in, I think in 2006, I was over the training division, which is a really great position to have. It's nervous. It's very nerve-wracking because if anything goes wrong, it's because training didn't do it right. So if a person gets hurt that shouldn't have been hurt, whether they're in the position or a civilian, it's because we did not train you right. And that's what I completely believe. It's an enormous responsibility. And then I went to operations. Operations is basically making sure that the trucks are rolling, making sure that the people are in place, and scheduling is right, and disciplinary actions and things like that. I enjoyed that as well, but I think training I really, really enjoyed.
Well, thank you for your service during that time. That's spectacular.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. Fast forwarding a couple years, I had a really antiquated headshot that I used for my Tallahassee Democrat column, that I used for any community service engagements. And you mentioned you're doing some photography.
Yeah.
This is just a few years ago. And would you come over to Aegis and do a shoot? And so we did like the normal shot, and it's very official, and love it.
Then you did.
But the hilarious shot, which you kept coaching me and like, lighten it up.
No, that was
and
you.
So I
man.
reenacted an old picture from 2009 where I was doing the Richard Nixon thing when we accepted an award for Technology Company of the Year from the Chamber of Commerce. And you were able to bring that to the future. And I love using that for engagements today and giving you a shout out, of course, for capturing it. But it's just casual, we see so many people, representing their brand so seriously, and it's important to do that. I get it. But to have a little bit of a sense of humor in what you bring to the table is so important. And I want to thank you for capturing that moment.
Yours was one of my first jobs, so I thank you. Yeah, it was. It was my first paid gig. But I also do graduation photography, but that's with a company. But yeah, I mean, I really love photography. My family is kind of steeped in photography and video. Shout out to Nick Lee Photography, Valerie Marie Cavanis. They do some awesome work. Check it out. Anyhow, but what I really love about it is that there's a connection. And what better job is there than to seek out the best that people have? I mean, that's my focus. When I sit and work on pictures, I really start to just see the beauty in people. And then that translates as I'm walking down the street. I look and I think, oh, that's nice. And and especially these times, I feel really happy about that, to be able to see the good in people.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I haven't thought about that like that.
Well, I mean,
you got a pun in there too. You said that's my focus. So that's good. So we were talking about literature during our break. I just read a book by C.J. Box. It's all about this this game warden out in Wyoming. It's a nice break from the normal reading that I do. And we were talking about Kat and I. We were having a conversation at Kristen's house about what she was reading, and I wasn't ready for her answer. She said, I'm just reading something on quantum physics. So are you reading quantum physics these days?
Off, Kat is my spouse, just so that you know the connection.
Thank you for the intro.
And she's an amazing woman that loves to expand her knowledge in interesting areas.
We even talked about time travel and the feasibility of it briefly. Yeah. And then it was outside my pay grade in IQ, but I listened, and it was very cool. Yeah. So what are you reading these days?
Well, I have this curiosity, getting back to the bean in terms of the trade, the pattern of trade. And there's one book called Blood in the Water Blood in the Sugar or Sugar in the Blood. And it talks about the sugar trade from Barbados and the islands and up through, and then started but did not finish the book on Alexander Hamilton, which, if you know the story, starts the same thing. And I was like, wow. And then there was another book I started reading that talked about that same trade pattern. There's a lot of history and a lot of where we come from as a nation that started on that kind of trade line of that pattern. And that's still steeped into who we are today. And so I'm curious about that.
It sounds like you like to read little snippets of lots of books.
Yeah. I'm in a book club, and it's wonderful. And they look at me and they say, do you ever finish a book? Like, well, no. I read a lot of little books here and there.
Reminds me of my attempt at the collected works of Edgar Allan Poe and the collected works of Nietzsche. I got through neither one of them. And back to C.J. Box and Clive Cussler and those types of books. All right, on to the cooking front. So if you were going to cook your dream recipe tonight and you had all the time in the world to do it, what would you chef up?
There's two things I'm thinking of. One is crispy baked wings for the game tomorrow, not yours. FSU, thank you.
It is game day for both of our teams in the next 48 hours. So go Gators, go Noles. Got that out of the way.
Yeah.
And granted, there's something to be said for the fried wings out there.
Yeah.
But to make them at home, it's also very special.
Yeah.
And speaking of home,
yes,
Tallahassee's our community.
Yes, it is.
Tallahassee is home. What do you love about Tallahassee?
What I love is their pockets of different people. I have friends that are so different from all my other friends. And I love that. When everything looks the same, I get nervous. So you can consider. I mean, there's so many people with PhDs and law degrees here, and then you have people that can like take cars apart and didn't get out of high school, and put it together, and they all have their wonderful sense of intelligence that's special to Tallahassee. I also like that we tend to always be trying to figure out how to create ourselves. We're always trying to figure out how to expand, and the more we give to local, and this isn't a plug for RedEye, but yeah, it's a plug to RedEye. But the more we give to local,
it's definitely a plug for RedEye. Absolutely.
Well, I mean, just all the local businesses. If you go to a local shop, it's the people that you know, and I'm not saying that other places don't treat you well, but it's more authentic. Like, can I say something about like Ology?
Sure.
Okay, yeah, I mean that's one of the most like authentic places. They're kind of figuring it out as they go, and they're doing a great job. And you go in there and you don't feel like you feel like you're home. I'll say it that way.
We took the whole company in there a few months back, and what a great spot to
Have you been to the new place?
Yeah.
Yeah. You talking about that? I love that new place right next to the bike shop.
It's sharp.
Well, yeah, I love that. But at RedEye, we really, really appreciate community, and we want to foster that as any way we can.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being such an awesome part of the community.
and
as we go forward, make sure to check out RedEye Coffee. They are a wonderful part of Midtown, a wonderful part of Tallahassee. Tell Barbie it was fun to collaborate with her recently. As we roll into 2020, our podcast series will feature radio personality and forcer on me of hot wings, Greg Tish. We'll talk about that more then. Lead singer of Sister Hazel, Ken Block. County Commissioner Kristen Dozier.
Yay.
And that's just getting started. So thank you, everyone out there, for listening today. Thank you, Andrea, for joining us as our guest.
Thank you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, and Happy New Year to our audience. Thanks for making 2019 a success with our podcast series, and we will see you in 2020. That's a wrap.